Today I'll be going over a short I took on gold. We're gonna start off of the 15-minute time frame only because we're only gonna be looking for, well, this was an intraday play, obviously because gold is at all-time highs, as you can see. So because of that, and there's absolutely nothing to the left, you can't be sure when gold wants to sell off, right? So you can only be looking for intraday plays. And so yeah, we're gonna go on the 15-minute time frame and show you what I took. All right, so first you can see that after right here, after the market moved up, took out this becomes your liquidity block, okay? The market moves down into, breaking the structure to the downside. So essentially after this BOS to the downside, retail is going to want to sell, right? They want to be selling from the highs. As you can see, this right here is your liquidity block, right? Only so you can see reactions from here. So what happens is taps into the liquidity block, right? Gives reactions, breaks minor structure to the downside, right? And after breaking minor structure to the downside, it builds more liquidity at the highs, right? Why is that? Because sellers are induced even more, and they would want to sell from this order block. Okay. So BOS to the downside right here, more sellers come into the market, and you can see that when the market moved up and tapped into this order block right here, it gave reactions, right, and breaking structure on the 1 minute right here. Okay, so tapped into the order block, broke structure to the downside, inducing more sellers, and then shoots up to the highs, clearing the liquidity from the left. Right, so this liquidity right here, and then starts moving down, right? After clearing this liquidity, well, in this area you have to be very careful because obviously the market can actually go higher and tap into this imbalance right here. So you can't just blindly sell, right, from this 1 minute liquidity block. That's not how it works. You want to see sellers get trapped before you actually enter the markets, right? So obviously sellers were trapped on a higher time frame. Now you want to see the same thing to occur on the lower time frames. Okay, so keep in mind the market can go up to here, right? What you do is you wait. Okay, so you don't just take it from the market pulling back and taking on this inducement high, tapping into this liquidity, this imbalance, right? You don't want to just take it from there because the market can go higher, right? So you want to see more price action form. So over here, what you can see is the market moves up, taps into this imbalance, starts moving down, and you can see create some order flow, right? Lower low, lower high, lower low. Also breaking minor structure over here on the seconds time frame. Obviously, as I said, or I mentioned before, we don't really trade the seconds time frame. Just understanding that price is fractal, you can potentially see where sellers are induced and trapped, right? So sellers got trapped over here, and the market moves down, creating this low, then this pullback, right? Creating that lower high, and then lower low, right? So because it broke structure to the downside over here, also taking this out, this is now this right here would be your break of structure or your trap, right? Where basically after this break to the downside, sellers are induced and they're selling from these highs, right? Keeping their stops above here and then potentially targeting these lows, right? So what happens is the market traps sellers over here, comes into the extreme, right above here, this wick right here, and that's essentially where my entry was. Okay, so let's move this up here. Okay, so my entry was right here, right above that wick, and I sold off. I shorted towards the inducement low that was created on the 15-minute time frame, which was obviously right here. Okay, so this is your inducement low. Why is that? Well, because as I mentioned, the market tapped into this order block, gave reactions, printing this low, right? So this being your build-up, and the low that was printed is essentially your inducement low. Okay, so after clearing liquidity, right, so the three-step process as we talked about in the course, you want to see the build-up, which happened right here, right? Printing that inducement low, taking out the liquidity, right? Clearing the liquidity, and then placing the entry, right? So the entry, because price is fractal, you want to see the same thing for entries, right? You don't want to just take it blindly from the liquidity block over here, right? So you want to see sellers being trapped again on the 1 minute time frame, right, on lower time frames, so you can have your precise entry all the way towards your target, right? So this was pretty clean, nice 1 to 8